Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the family webinar for Montclair State University here in Montclair, New Jersey. Looking forward to speaking with everyone tonight. I'm going to give it a little bit of time, let folks file in. Kelsey Nyman, who was originally going to host, unfortunately had a family emergency, so she had to step out. So I'll just be running through my presentation in a little bit. But I'm looking forward to hearing from everyone, any questions people have. This webinar is from 7 to 8 and is going to be recorded so that we can post it to Campus ESP so that everybody has access to it after this presentation is over. If we have anyone that is Spanish speaking native in this presentation, there will be a live presentation, not a live presentation, sorry, a pre-recorded Spanish speaking presentation that will go live tomorrow. I do hear some folks are saying they can't hear. Are other folks hearing me okay, or is this widespread?
I can hear you good.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much for letting me know. Mr. Simpson
I
and
can
Miss
hear you
Rattery.
too.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Great. Happy to hear.
What was your name again? I'm sorry.
Adrian Perry.
Adrian.
Yes, nice to meet everybody.
Oh, nice to meet you too. I'm hearing now.
Excellent. Great. I am really excited to get this school year going. I'm excited to get our new group of students in. It's my favorite time of year because everybody's coming back, but then that means my workload in August is a little bit rambunctious. So we try to do the best we can there, but I'm really looking forward to hearing any questions that folks have after I get through the presentation today. Before we get started again, I'm just going to reiterate that if we have any folks that are Spanish-speaking native in this presentation, there is going to be a pre-recorded presentation that goes live tomorrow in the Campus ESP website. So if anybody needs to utilize that resource, you are more than welcome to use that. I'm just going to give it another couple of minutes, if folks don't mind, just to let a couple other folks in. Excellent. This is exciting. I see we have a packed house, so this is good. That means everybody's locked in to what needs to get done. So that's good. Very exciting. Just make sure I didn't miss anybody. Hang in there, folks. Just trying to make sure that we get everybody in if we can. Okay, so for now, I think we've got everybody in almost. But I am gonna go ahead and get started really fast. Then I will let folks in as needed. Here we go. Okay, I think I've got everybody now. Great. Very exciting stuff. So just to reiterate, my name is Adrian Perry. I am an enrollment advocate here at Montclair State University. I am also a two-time alumnus. So I did my undergrad here and I did my master's here, and I clearly can't leave. So here I am. So my job tonight is to just kind of go over what Red Hawk Central is, what we do, who we are, where we're located, why it's important that you and your students connect with us throughout the school year, some important processes that are going to be coming up. I know that everybody's got questions about due dates and different things like that, so I'm going to do my best to get through the presentation as painlessly as possible. If we could all just hold questions to the end, that would be great. Or you can drop them in the chat and then I will get to them at the end of the presentation. As I said earlier, the presentation is from 7 to 8. So once we get to 8, we'll need to head out, but I'll make sure I get as many questions in as possible. And I will also leave my contact information at the end of the presentation as well, in case anybody has follow-up questions after we're done for tonight. So I'm looking forward to hearing from folks and getting to meet everybody. Let me share my screen so that we can start looking at that. Great. Okay, and so away we go. So, Red Hawk Central One Stop Student Services. Like I said, I'm going to go over who, what, where, when, why, and how. I'm going to go over FERPA as well, just to make that clear for folks, in case anybody has questions about that. And then the business ahead. So some of the more important processes that are going to be coming up as we get into the start of the semester. So in terms of who we are and the types of services that we provide, so Red Hawk Central is the one-stop student service center for financial aid questions, student accounts or billing questions, and registrar questions. So really a lot of questions to do with FAFSA. A lot of families have already come in and asked questions about that. How financial aid works, we answer those questions. Billing, anything looks odd on your billing or how to make payments and different things like that, we answer those questions as well. And some of the registrar functions, so registering for classes, holds, which I'll get into in a little bit, and all of those different policies and procedures. So the types of services that we provide. So we have three different sides of the house, all kind of on the same team. So we have a one-stop center, which handles our in-person support, which you can come in on a walk-in basis and ask whatever questions you need. We have those folks are also in charge of answering emails. So if anybody has emailed throughout the past, month, I am really sorry, but it is that time of year where things get a little bit dicey, but they're definitely answering as quickly as they can. We do have a live chat that serves as like more of a generalist questionnaire. So if you have general questions, you can ask, and we have our student worker team that handles those questions. And then we also have our self-service station, where if there's processes and things that you would like to do with some assistance while you're there in the office, we have, I believe it's 4 or 5 computers in that area where we can have somebody walk you through those steps. We also have call center services. So the folks that answer the phones, that's our call center agents. Like I said, this is another one. If you've tried to call in the last month, again, really sorry. As anyone can imagine, once the bill comes out, all bets are off, summer is over. So those call volumes can get a little bit crazy. And then they also jump in with email assistance as well. And then we have our retention team, which I am actually a part of. So myself and my colleague handle call campaigns that we do to students. We do email and text campaigns. That way, if we have students that come up on our radar that could be behind on the 8 ball on a couple things, we send emails out to those students and text to those students to be like, hey, your account looks a little bit messy. What can we do to get things situated there? We also jump in email assistance in high volume time. We also have our own email inbox, which I'll get to as well. And then we also offer Zoom and virtual assistance. So if you decide to have a meeting with myself or Crystal Allen, who's the other enrollment advocate, you're welcome to do that. And something else I forgot to add here, I also do in-person meetings as needed. So more than happy to help in those circumstances as well. So what is it that we actually do here at Red Hawk Central? So we assist students and families with understanding how to manage their Nest account. So whether it's financial aid, billing, registration, all of those different things, as well as a degree audit. So that those kinds of things are very important. The next step is we provide guidance if next steps are needed and what processes to complete. So right now we're in that stage where folks are coming in and saying, what do I need to do next to make sure my financial aid is situated? We walk you through those steps every step of the way. If it gets a little bit more complicated and we are not able to assist because we don't have the back end view or back end ability to view some of those issues, we escalate those issues to our partner offices in the form of an incident ticket, and then they provide a more in-depth review of what is needed to help get the account current and up to date. In terms of the next thing, we do address questions relating to FAFSA, as well as the FERPA proxy, and all of those different things, and how families can self-advocate. I'm going to get to FERPA in a second and explain that and explain how you can self-advocate and still be involved in your student's process. And then we also provide university resources and other contact information. So I mentioned earlier that I myself am an alumnus of the university, and a bunch of my colleagues are also alum of the university. So we've been around it, we've been through it, so we can provide different office areas that you can get assistance in for different questions and concerns. Sorry about that. Okay, so where are we located? So if anyone is unfamiliar at this point in time, we are in Susan A. Cole Hall. So for clarity, that is right by the Red Hawk Deck, Castor Theater, and across from the athletic center, a little bit up the ways. We're on the second floor. Common misconception is that we're on the same floor as Panera. We are not there. That's actually where admissions is. We are one more floor up in the atrium, so the central area of that floor. And you can go to our check-in desk, and I'll get into that in a little bit. In terms of when we are actually available for assistance, so it varies at different times throughout the school year. So our traditional semester hours, Monday through Friday, we're open 8:30 to 4:30. That's our standard operating time. On Mondays and Thursdays, we are here from 8:30 to 6 to help with anyone that needs to come in after work, or if students have class until 4:30 or 5 o'clock, they can come in on Mondays and Thursdays to speak with us during the semester. Now, during peak times, so during move-in, which is coming up very quickly, the add drop period, which will be that first week or two of school, and registration, which is also a super heavy volume time for us, we are open Monday through Thursday, 8:30 to 6 p.m. And then on Fridays, we are open on our standard time, 8:30 to 4:30. Our summer hours do change or can change year to year. The last few years, we've been really fortunate. We've been able to do Monday through Thursday, 8 to 5:30, so an extended day, that Monday through Thursday period. And then we are usually closed on Fridays. Our call center, so it's a little bit different there, because we do have an external team that assists with some of those calls. Monday through Friday, it is open 8:30 or available 8:30 to 6 p.m. So you can call at any time during those times. We also are really fortunate because we have Saturday hours for our call center as well. We have 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturdays that you can call in. And then on Sundays, we are closed. Now, in terms of the why, and this is kind of important to kind of inform where we are now. So, why were we created? So, in 2018, I had just finished being a student. So, we opened in 2018 and we tried to centralize and streamline our student services and expedite assisting students. When I was a student, so I finished my master's in 2017. When I was an undergrad and a graduate student, it was very overwhelming to have to go from building to building to building to try to get questions answered. So that was why we tried to centralize and streamline a lot of those services. And hopefully that's expedited some of those processes. Like I said, we really try to prevent students and families from having to visit multiple offices for answers. We try to keep everything in-house as much as we can, unless it involves another office and you absolutely have to go there. We also really want to help students and families navigate the business of being a student. So the reality of it is academics are very, very important. The academics are the reason why they are here. But the funding of that and making sure that the account is up to date, that is, I would say, equally important. Without those things, student can't be here. So we try to help navigate those processes and help students kind of build some confidence in being able to get those things handled. So why should students work with us and why should families work with us for that matter? So we provide up-to-date information on student accounts. Any time the university shifts or changes or any up-to-date deadlines and timings that come up, we advise on those situations. We also try to make sense of some of the processes. I know that a lot of those processes can be confusing. I remember going through them by myself as a student, and like I said, overwhelming. So we want to make sure we make sense of those processes for you and your students. We also want to ensure that students understand Nest because that is their hub for a lot of the things that they need to do at the university. So some examples of just some processes that a lot of folks might be familiar with at this point in time. Applying for financial aid, which I know is daunting, but I hope everybody got their financial aid at least applied for and they're working through those processes. Completing verification, which some of folks in this chat may have done as well. Accepting loans, which again, that's a process that can be confusing. There's a couple different steps there. And then academic engagement, which that comes a little bit later. That comes after the semester begins. That's when our students just identify they're attending so they can get their financial aid situated. So the tough part, what happens when students don't actually come and speak with us? So deadlines can pass and they can miss out on aid and other processes. So the one story I always tell to families, which usually gets everybody's attention, is there's certain grants that you have to get your FAFSA in on time for, or you miss out completely. So for those folks that are New Jersey tag eligible, as freshmen, your FAFSA is already in. So at this point, it's probably not a big deal. But as they turn to sophomores or continuing students, that deadline is actually sooner. It's usually around early June. I have seen plenty of students, this actually happened to me as well, where students didn't get that FAFSA in time, and then they missed out on the tuition aid grant, which for those of you that may not be familiar, that can be, depending on your eligibility, up to close to $5,500 per semester in free grant money. So I have seen people lose out on free grant money in quite large amounts when they don't check in with us and get FAFSAs in. So we really want to make sure they don't miss those situations. Holds, which can block a student from moving forward, from registering for classes, from seeing grades, from getting transcripts. We certainly want to avoid those situations. So that's why it's super important that students are locked into their accounts. They know what's going on and they can reach out to us with any questions. And then just other account issues that can be overly complicated that nobody wants to deal with. Now, in terms of how to reach us, so we have a multitude of ways that folks can reach us. So I mentioned in person, Susan A. Cole Hall on the second floor. That's the area there, actually, in that picture. On the right-hand side, you'll see a desk. That's actually our check-in desk, excuse me. Our check-in desk, you literally can walk in, the student will give their CWID, say what the question is about, and they wait right in the middle there to get their question answered. It is first come, first served. It does not make an appointment. It's walk-in basis every day during our business hours. We have a few different emails. So our main inbox is redhawkcentral@montclair.edu. That's probably the one that folks are most familiar with. Redhawkretention@montclair.edu is the inbox that myself and my colleague Crystal Allen manage. And so we send out outreach from that email, and then students can respond to that email. If they have more complicated issues, they can reach out there as well. And for those folks that may be Bloomfield affiliated that are taking classes at Bloomfield campus, we do have a Red Hawk Central office there as well. And their inbox is bloomfieldrhc@montclair.edu. Our phone number, if folks are not familiar with it at this point, is 973-655-7600. So essentially what happens there is you call in, you let us know what the question is about, and you get forwarded to one of our call center agents, and they can help you with any of your questions. I did mention our live chat as well. It's on all of our Red Hawk Central web pages. I did mention also, I just want to reiterate that this is more of a general question space. So what happens is you ask the question, our student worker team is trained to answer general questions. But aside from those general questions, if it's more specific, they're going to forward you or they're going to have you reach out to one of our main inboxes. So sorry, it went to the website. So glad that that worked. We do have social media. So for our families and folks, we do have Facebook. Whether it's used a lot, we're not really sure, but we definitely have it available for folks that utilize that space. So it's at Montclair Red Hawk Central. And then our Instagram, our TikTok, and our threads where we do post deadlines and different things that are coming up is at Montclair_Red Hawk Central. Like I said, this presentation is actually going to be available afterwards. Kelsey Nyman is going to post this, so all this information will be available afterwards as well. FERPA. So everybody's worst nightmare is FERPA, and I'm fully aware of that. So just to kind of explain what that is, what is FERPA? FERPA provides certain rights for parents regarding their child's education records and provides protection for students when they are attending the university. So when a student reaches 18 years of age or starts attending an institution of post-secondary education, so higher ed, so college, the student becomes an eligible student. And what happens in that circumstance is that students have the sole custody of all of their academic records. So what happens is this protects student records from unauthorized access to personal information, and this is a federal policy. So part of this is the unfortunate reality is we have people that will try to gain unauthorized access to students' accounts. And so some of this is to protect the student. I know a lot of questions become, well, I'm paying for the bill. Absolutely understand that, but this is a federal law. So once the student is matriculated and once they have started classes, whether they are 18 or not, they may be 16, they may be 17. If they have started classes, we unfortunately are not permitted to speak to anyone except the student. But there is a process that I will get into shortly that kind of gives parents a little more leeway and a little more availability there. This policy is also in place just to allow our students to take accountability and responsibility for their education. So the reality of it is a lot of our families here, if you've done school, school is done for you. These students, it is their education at this point, and we want to make sure that they take ownership of that and they kind of navigate these spaces on their own because it also helps them build self-efficacy and the ability to solve problems as they go through here, which they're going to need once they graduate. So in terms of next steps, so allowing families and guardians to advocate for their students, this is where that self-advocacy comes in. If a student fills out what's called our FERPA proxy, they can provide access to, usually it's a parent, but in a lot of cases, aunts and uncles, other family members. They can provide access to certain things on the account that we can then speak to a parent or someone other than the student about. So it's a two-step process. So for our students, it's how to grant proxy access, which again, the website is listed there. And there's the family guardian step, which is the proxy login instructions. Those things are all listed on the website. And if there's, excuse me, questions or concerns about that, I'm more than welcome to answer those. More than happy to answer those questions. Now, in terms of the business ahead, so these next few weeks are pivotal. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is fall bills because that is the first thing that comes up. So I believe, as everyone is aware at this point, the bill is due on Monday, August 11th. So after August 11th, what happens is there will be a $150 late fee that's applied, and it's one time per semester. I want to be absolutely clear here. I cannot speak to whether it will be added on Tuesday or if it will be added after the ad drop period. I will say that historically it's been after the ad drop period, but I also want to say that we do not take ownership of that. Student accounts does. So it's just something that folks should keep in mind as we move forward. In terms of our payment options, we have a few different options. So for online, if you want to pay online, a lot of folks use a credit card. There is a 2.95% processing fee on that. So a lot of folks may also stay away from it, but that's usually the most convenient. The electronic check process, which takes about 2 to 3 business days of processing time. For that, it's essentially like handing in a check into the student accounts office. It's just an online process where you provide an account number and a routing number. It will pull the funding directly from that account. It will post to the account immediately. You will see it on your student's account. You will not see it pulled out of your bank account until 2 to 3 business days time. We do also have tuition payment plans where there is a 5-month, a 4-month, and a 3-month option. It's pretty self-explanatory. It splits into those 5, 4, 3 payments. There's a $30 enrollment fee that you pay essentially just at the beginning to initiate the plan. And our payment plans, for clarity, are semester to semester. Those payment plans will also include any financial aid, scholarships, etc., that students may have on their accounts. Now, if we're in person, we do have cash as an option, we do have check as an option, and we do have money order as an option. All of that information is on our website as well in terms of who to address it to. It's usually to Montclair State University, but we can go over that as well if anyone has questions. In terms of how to pay online, students can log into their Nest account. There is an online online payment quick links that students can just click on that brings you straight to the payment portal. And then you're going to click on make payment. Once you click on make payment, it will walk you through the next few steps. If you're creating a payment plan at this point in time, a little bit underneath that, it will say set up payment plan or enroll in payment plan, and you can walk through those steps as well. The payment plan, before you initiate it, will tell you what your monthly payments are because you're going to have to sign a payment agreement that identifies what those payments are. The other way you can pay online is adding an authorized user. So as family, you are able to create a linked account to be able to access your student's bill. This will only allow you access to the bill and nothing else. So the student would need to go into Nest, go back to that online payments quick link. There's an authorized user tab on the right-hand side in the profile setup list, and they can click on that, enter the email of the authorized user that they would wish to have access. They'll hit continue, agree to the terms, hit continue, and then there will be an email with instructions sent to that email to the family member, and they'll follow those instructions, and then they will have their own login information to be able to go in and make payment without having to have the student directly involved. Just to give you kind of what that looks like. On that right-hand side, like I said, that authorized user tab is listed there. You'll see add authorized user. You'll add the email. You'll see all the information you'll need to do, and then it will send you instructions as to how to finish up that process. Honestly, what I think the other most important thing here is, and this is the bane of my existence, is the health insurance waiver. So in case no one was aware, all full-time students at the university are charged university health insurance. That is a university policy. They are charged in their first full-time semester every academic year. We have had situations where students are not full-time in the fall and then they're full-time in the spring. And so that charge gets added in the spring. But for all of my first-time full-time folks for the fall, it was probably on your account already. If you have your own insurance, we obviously do not want you to have to pay for two different types of insurances. That can get absolutely messy. We don't want anybody to deal with that. So what we do is we provide a waiver process. So there's a student accounts tab in Nest where it says student health insurance. You're going to click there and then click on the university health plans hyperlink. You'll then log in with the student will log in with their CW ID and their date of birth. They'll complete the waiver. They'll actually ask for a front and back copy of the health insurance card, which will verify that you have insurance, and then the student must hit submit. Very important they do that because we've had students not hit that submit button and say they did it and it never got processed. For those that are not clear, that health insurance charge is $2,940. So that's an extra $3,000 that will probably upset some folks that they'd have to pay if they shouldn't need to pay it. As of now, the waiver is due on September 15th. So just so everyone is clear, we're very much ahead of that deadline, but I encourage everyone to fill it out as soon as possible, just so it's done ahead of that deadline. If we miss that deadline and it's not completed, then unfortunately the student is on the hook for that charge and there is nothing that we can do at that point, which is why it is imperative that students are paying attention. We also send several emails between the invoices and several reminders between now and that deadline so that students are not caught unaware. So I just want to make sure that everybody's clear on that. I've had several uncomfortable conversations with families that had to pay the extra $3,000 and there's nothing that we can do. So in terms of where that is in Nest, just to give you a visual, so on that left-hand side of their Nest account in the menu section, you'll see student health insurance. You'll then see university health plans. You'll want to click on that, and then you'll see waiver form. After the waiver form, you will then see the login information. You'll complete everything, submit it. It's usually about a 3 to 5 business day process. That's usually about how long it takes for the account to update and have that waiver chart or have that waiver process to the account. Just an FYI, this is an annual process. Students that fill it out now will be good for the remainder of the academic year. And then going into next fall, so what would be fall 26, when the bill comes out, then they will have to waive it again. And they will have to waive it every year because the thought is insurance plans change every year. So we want to make sure that students are paying attention to that as well. So I really hope that that was informative and helpful to everybody here. I am going to take a look at our chat to see what questions we have. So I am excited to get into that. If anybody has questions, just throw them in the chat and I'm happy to answer them. So first question that I see, somebody's son tried to waive the medical insurance. It is not recognizing his ID. So this is actually a common issue that we have. So one of two things. And actually I do see the health insurance, a lot of health insurance questions. So I'm happy that somebody asked this. Um, in terms of recognizing the student's ID, one of two things are happening. Either they were recently made full-time and the system has not recognized that yet, which sometimes that takes a few business days, or if he is entering his CWID without the M in front of it, it will not recognize his ID. So to Ms. Morden, thank you so much for the question. That's a very, very good question. Just make sure that he's putting that M in front of the CWID and just confirm that he's full time, and then he'll be in good shape. I see a couple. How do we fill out the insurance? I think I went over that, but I'm happy to jump back into that in a little bit if needed. Filled out the insurance waiver. Will we see the credit before the first payment is due in August? So it depends. It depends on when you submitted that waiver. If it was submitted within the past day or two, it's cutting it close, but it might process. I have seen it happen within a day. So I did see a couple folks fill out the waiver yesterday and it will process today. So I would keep an eye on it over the next couple of days. I can't speak, I'm not directly involved with that process, but keep an eye on the account and you'll be able to see that. Have the loans been applied to the bills that have been sent out? Also, very good question. That first bill, when it came out, financial aid had not quite caught up yet. I believe that if loans have been accepted and things, I think most of them have started to be applied. We are still working through that manually. So we are still working through some of those loans getting attributed to students' accounts. So if it's not there yet, don't be alarmed. It is a problem that we're aware of and the financial aid is working on. Do we need to wait until the ID is issued to get the ID number before we waive the health insurance? I maybe just to clarify, if it's the student ID, they should have that already. If you're referring to your own insurance, you will need an ID card or an insurance card to submit that insurance. So you may have to wait for that. Assistance on our bill for specific questions. Who can you contact? So you would contact Red Hawk Central. So you can either call us with that phone number, that 973-655-7600 number I provided, or you can shoot us an email. You are also welcome to come in and speak to us in person if that is geographically feasible for you. But you can reach out to any one of us and we'll be able to help you out. When will we see federal loans posted so we know the final before private loans? So if the federal loan was just accepted recently, again, it's going to be a few business days. Private loans will take some time as well. I also want to address the due date because I know that that's a lot of folks' concern. Monday is yes, that is currently the soft deadline for bills to be paid. I did mention that that 150 late fee could come on the day after, or it could be much later. I'm not 100% sure on that. I also want to be absolutely clear. I believe everybody here is mostly first time folks. If the bill is not paid on Monday, I can say with full certainty, none of your students are going to be pulled out of class. We do not deregister students for payment not being in on the 11th. We haven't done it in a very long time. I was a student the last time we deregistered folks for non-payment. That was a mess. It was awful. I don't know that we'll be doing that again. So anyone that is concerned about courses and different things like that with the due date approaching, I can say with certainty, no one's schedule is going to be impacted. The worst case scenario that comes out of this is that one-time $150 late fee, which again, I wish I could say it comes out the Tuesday. I just don't know. If that does happen, there is a late fee waiver request form that lives on Nest. I just want to make sure everybody's clear too. If you go and do that, they do only honor it as a one-time courtesy. So this is kind of one of those pick and choose your battles type of deal, because if down the line a couple years later this comes up again, I don't know that they'll honor it the second time. So I just want to make sure that I'm transparent about that ahead of time. But the good news is, like I said, we will not run into a situation where anyone's classes are impacted whatsoever. In terms of assistance with revisions on FAFSA information, so either A, you'll need to call federal student aid, or B, you can come in and speak to one of us, and we can take a look and see what's going on, and we can kind of go through that process. Why are federal loans not applied to the bill? just reaching back to that. The federal loans, we've been having some processing issues on our end, unfortunately. So that first bill that went out, unfortunately, some folks financially didn't get attributed. They have been working, when I tell you, diligently to get those up. I believe that a lot of them have been updated. I don't know that all of them have been updated, but I know that financial aid is working feverishly to make sure that everybody's bills are up to date. Folks that there was a concern about if FAFSA information was entered incorrectly. I believe that you can still make changes. You can go into the FAFSA and make adjustments. It will take some time for us to get that correction. I would advise coming to speak to us first before making those corrections, because it will take some time. The unfortunate reality is we are beholden to the federal government's processing time. So I can't say that it'll be in before the 11th. That would be unrealistic. But if you can come in and speak to us and we can take a look, we can at least get you started on that process, and then we can kind of move from there. Once a student has applied for, been approved for, signed a private loan to cover tuition. Okay, so good question. Not my favorite question. Nothing against the question. The unfortunate reality is that private loans do take a little bit more time because they're not coming from the institution. They're coming from outside lenders. So it does take, I want to say 4 to 6 weeks from the time that you start that process. Like I said earlier, I totally understand that Monday deadline is daunting. Your student is not going to get a significant penalty if it's not in on Monday. But you just to be aware for future reference, it does take about 4 to 6 weeks for that process. How can I know if my student has applied for all the grants or financial aid possible? If they've applied through FAFSA, anything that they'd be eligible for through FAFSA, they would have been awarded already at this time. For those folks that are New Jersey residents, you do also get New Jersey tag funding. So you want to make sure you check the New Jersey FAMS or HESA website to double check that everything is settled there. There's always scholarship information you can apply for as well. We have something called Scholarship Universe, which if you bear with me a moment, I will actually put that in the chat. So Scholarship Universe is a database that we provide to students to look for different scholarships from outside the university that they can actually utilize to bring in different scholarships to the university. So the good news is that you can apply for any of those, and then you can bring it in and bring in as many as you want, really. And then you can look to see if that will assist with your balance as well. For the commuters, phenomenal question. For commuters, the parking pass is not included. You do not have to go in person to make that purchase. What you would do is you would go to montclair.edu/parking, and then the student would log into the parking services website, and they would purchase their parking pass through that website. You do not receive a physical pass anymore. They used to, not anymore. The pass is just attributed to that student's license plate. So when parking services does their rounds, which I should warn everybody, they definitely do their rounds, they will check the student's license plate and they'll see that they have a parking pass, and then they'll just keep it moving. And the parking pass is good for the entire academic year. The only deduction on our bill is the merit scholarship. FAFSA loans, Parent Plus loans were approved, not applied yet. If it doesn't show up on the 11th, so the technical answer to your question, are you expected to pay the bill? The technical answer is yes. Are you going to get penalized that first day? No, you're not. If we're waiting for things to come in, I have seen families wait until the semester starts because we're waiting for things to come in. Like I said, it does not impact the student starting classes or anything one way or the other. If the insurance is waived, like I said, a couple of business days that'll take. And then when setting up a payment plan, does it get adjusted once the insurance is waived? Yes. So what'll happen with payment plans, the cool thing about payment plans is once you initiate that payment plan, one of two things are going to happen. If you've made a payment or you've started a payment plan and financial aid is not updated yet, once the financial aid is updated, it will automatically, at this point, it will update your bill. It will reduce the bill, it'll reduce your payments. Same thing with the health insurance. If you made the payment plan and you had the health insurance in that payment plan, once the health insurance waiver processes, it will reduce your next payments for the rest of the term. Presidential scholarship is not deducted on the bill yet. Can I pay and deduct from the total? Excellent question. So this actually kind of falls hand in hand with financial aid as well. So if you're awaiting financial aid and you kind of are aware of what you're getting, or you're getting presidential scholarship and that hasn't processed yet, you do have the ability to go in and manually adjust the amount that you pay up front. And then you can theoretically, if you know the math, deduct the amount that you're going to pay and pay without those scholarships and grants in. Are we expected to pay a late fee if the bill is incorrect and does not get adjusted by the 11th? So the technical unpopular answer is yes. But again, that late fee waiver exists so that in situations like this, if you're waiting for things to update and things like that, depending on when the late fee comes out, because like I said, I have seen it. I have yet to see it come out the day after, but I also, again, am not I don't have control of that process. Typically, at least in the most recent years, it usually comes out around the end of the add drop period, because theoretically that's when students are adjusting schedules. So that's when I've seen that happen. But if it comes out the day after and you need to do the late fee waiver, you're welcome to do that. Presidential scholarship is still being processed. I know that that was an issue that we've been dealing with as well. They are working on getting that situated as quickly as possible. I did the waiver already, even though the deadline is the 15th. Why is the charge still slowing up on the bill? So this is actually a really good loaded question. When you do the health insurance waiver, what happens is on our end, we see that waiver there. I just want to make sure everybody's clear on this as well. When your student gets an invoice twice a month, it's the 1st and 15th of every month. When your student gets that invoice, you're going to see two sides. You're going to see current term charges. You're going to see current term payments. You are always going to see the health insurance charge on the charges side, because we are legally obligated to delineate that you were charged for it. The waiver, on the other hand, processes as a payment, even though you didn't pay for it. The waiver in our system is recognized on our invoice as a payment to counter that charge. So you may see it on the invoice, but if the waiver is on that current term payments charge, the charge is clear. How do outside scholarships work? So what happens with that? This is also a very good question. If you are getting outside scholarships and you want to utilize them on your bill, what you're going to do is you're going to literally send the award letter and the check information to our student accounts office. There is an email. It's thirdpty@montclair.edu. Or you are able to go in and physically bring that information into student accounts, and you can say, hey, my student, or if the student is going in, I got a scholarship. This is how much it's for. This is what it's supposed to be used for. And this is the award letter. And then they will post that to the account and they will distribute it as needed. FAFSA loan hasn't been deducted. I might have gone over that. The last day to change your meal plan. Good question. Technically, you can change it throughout the course of the semester. I would not advise that, because changing it throughout the course of the semester, the problem with that is that it will prorate and adjust based on how much you've used or what time of the semester it is. So if you want to change your meal plan, I would strongly advise changing it just sooner than later, just so there's no confusion as to the cost as we get into the middle of the term. How do I know what amount to pay when federal loans aren't on the bill yet? Like I said, if you're able to do that math, you can go in and make that adjustment manually, or you wait until the loans come in. That's usually what I suggest. It's either that, or if you know how much loan funding you're getting, you can go in and make that deduction and then just make the payment of the difference. Past semesters, there's been a due date for the bill and a final due date to help students secure loans if needed, as the bill comes out so close to the due date, they're not accurate. So theoretically, The 11th is the due date. I'm not quite sure how to answer this question. I do know that at some point in the semester, and you may be referring to when holds are placed on the account. I don't know the exact date of that. That's usually middle of the semester. So I want to say October something. I just don't know the exact date. But that is around the time where it gets a little bit dicey and you want to get ahead of it before October, because then we get into holds on the account and then blocking registration when that comes up. And I would love for nobody to have that problem. So definitely as soon as you can. Does the student health center go through the insurance? Um, if you are utilizing the insurance that you have, yes. Is it considered an urgent care visit? No, it is not. And actually, don't hold me to that. I don't believe it is, but that is a health center question. I would advise reaching out to them. They're in Blanton Hall on that first floor. If you go on our website, their contact information is there as well. But I don't want to speak for them because I'm not 100% sure about that. If I want to enroll in payment plans, do I have to pay online or do I have the option to pay in person? Phenomenal question. Might not like the answer. So you do have to do payment plans online. The payment plans are run through our billing partner, not the university per se. So their stipulation is that payments are made online, which is why I suggested those electronic check options because I know card can get frustrating. So I would rather you use the e-check option because that's a little bit better. But yes, you have to pay it online, is essentially the answer to that. Can I go in person and pay before 4 p.m. at the office in cash? Absolutely. So we switch back to our traditional hours next week, 8:30 to 4:30. So if you come in anytime before the end of business and you have cash and want to make a payment, you are absolutely welcome to do that. Um, when is all of this active and ready to utilize? Attempted to fill this out, wasn't able to complete. Okay. So if there are a couple things that I want to make sure that folks are looking at. If they've done everything they've needed to do with their loans, whether it's the entrance counseling and master promissory note, because I know that that is also a concern. We want to make sure that those things get done because we can't process the loan without those. If those are done and we are just waiting for those loans to come in, my hope is that those are situated soon. We're waiting for financial aid to work through and make sure those are updated. Um, if a class has been removed due to an AP credit, does that change the student from full-time to part-time? It depends on how many credits they were enrolled in prior. If they were at 12 credits and a course is removed and they drop below 12 credits, yes, they will be considered part-time, and then they'll need to speak to an advisor about adding another course in its place. If they are 15 credits and they drop to 12, as long as they're between 12 and 18 credits, they're still full-time and it's a non-issue. Applied for a plus loan, waiting to be approved. What happens if we don't get approved by the due date? Like I said, you can either wait until that comes in, and then my hope is that the late fee is not added the day after. It rarely, I don't think it, like I said, I don't think it ever has been. So I would say that you can hang tight until then. Like I said, it's not going to impact your student schedule. Does NJ FAM's HISA cover tuition? Yes, but not necessarily all of it. So it is a tuition-based grant. So it will come in and pay towards the student's tuition bill. It does not cover the whole thing. Responsible for the amount currently owed on the bill. I mentioned that. How do I pay for the parking pass? If you missed that, you'll just need to go to montclair.edu/parking. And then you'll go into the parking services portal. The student will log in, and then they'll select the pass that they choose to get, and then they'll make payment through that portal. I believe passes become officially active, I believe, the first day of classes, but it will let you know when that becomes active. Does the student have to accept the federal loan, and how do they do that? They don't have to. If it's something that will help them, I would advise it if we believe that that will help them reduce their bill. If they do wish to accept it, for the folks that may not have accepted that yet, they're going to go into their Nest account. They're going to go to financial aid, check their aid award offer, select this academic year, and then they're going to see their loans listed. There's a drop down box next to each. They're going to do accept for both and then submit decision or save changes. After they do that, they will go to studentaid.gov and do the loan counseling, and they'll do the master promissory note. Loan counseling takes about 20 minutes. It's a module that we all had to do at some point. It just goes over what the loans do, what the terminology is, things that students should know. And then the promissory note is just the student signing and acknowledging that they understand the stipulations. Is help available in Spanish? Yes, absolutely. We do have Spanish speakers on staff. We have a call center agent that is Spanish speaking. We have a specialist that's Spanish speaking. We have an associate director that's Spanish speaking. We have financial aid counselors that are Spanish speaking. So we definitely have assistance for folks that need help in Spanish. If loans are not applied to the bill yet and I'm setting up a payment plan, will the amount be adjusted? Yes, it will. I did mention that a little bit earlier, just in case you missed it. Yes, it will get adjusted once those loans are processed. Is the health insurance bill for the entire school year? So no, it is not per semester. This is actually a very good question as well. That 2,940 number is for the full academic year. So similar to if you do the waiver and it's waived for the entire year, that charge is only charged once in the school year. If they are a full-time student in the fall, they'll get it in the fall. If they are not full-time in the fall and they come full-time in the spring, that's when it will be charged. But it is charged once a year. Is the new student enrollment fee the same as the enrollment deposit? It is not. It is two, unfortunately, separate charges. The deposit is for the student to essentially lock their spot into the university. The new student enrollment fee, unfortunately, is a mandatory fee that all new students get. So that's something that they should only see once. That should actually only happen for the fall. The amount due for the semester is different than the net amount on the home page. Could it be a double count of the freshman deposit? That might need to be a you reach out to us and come see us question, because that's something I would need to look into. But you're welcome to come in and speak to any one of us. But the number you should go by is the one on TouchNet, which is the billing portal. That's what you're gonna want to look at. Question about the late fee. Who can I speak to regarding changes to the class schedule? Your assigned advisor. So you'll reach out to your advisor if you want to make changes. Let's say we have commuters that are working. We have folks that need to make changes. You are welcome to reach out to your advisor and set up a meeting with them to change classes. I actually strongly advise that you do that, and I would do it sooner than later. Daughter submitted an appeal regarding more grants. Why is it taking so long? I would love to answer that question for you. I don't know the answer. I unfortunately am not directly involved with that process. So it may be one of those things where you may have to unfortunately just hang tight. You're welcome to come in and ask us about it. We may not have an answer by then though.
You
Should
got
we
the
fill out?
driver's license. I'm doing the weather medical waiver. I had to go in and shit. You're fucking fast. You didn't have
Uh,
Montclair added. You still had Maritime sitting in there.
I think we have someone unmuted. So if they could just be muted, that would be helpful. Should we fill out a late fee form while waiting for federal loans? You actually can't fill it out now because they haven't been applied yet. So the good news is you don't have to worry about filling out the late fee waiver right now until the late fee is applied, because you're going to go in and try to do it and the system's going to be like, you don't have a late fee. So I would hang tight for now until we see when that is applied. If the insurance is not processed prior to Monday, you do not need to pay the insurance. You can just essentially pay the total minus that number. Will the bill be up to date by the deadline Monday? It's a very hard question to answer. How can I get into my child's information as proxy? I went over that in the presentation, but where I actually have the presentation is going to be posted. So all of that information, the website and where you need to go is all going to be available for you. But it's on our website. If the bill just came out and they're not correct, I think it's only fair there to be an extension. So I definitely understand the concern here. There has not been an extension historically for the payment deadline, but I think that's also why the late fees typically don't go on the day after. And like I said, we don't pull folks out of class for any of that. So the good news is we're still in a pretty decent spot right now. When does my son pick up their ID? Good question. You are able to pick that up, I believe, at orientation is actually when you're able to pick that up. Someone from orientation team will be able to assist you with that once we get closer to that time. If there are multiple cars, do you need to buy a separate parking pass? Great question. No, you do not. You are permitted to have, I believe it's up to 4 vehicles on a permit. So that's the good news there. The catch is that they should never have both vehicles on campus at the same time. But they are able to, they do not need to buy multiple parking passes for multiple vehicles. One permit will suffice for 4 vehicles. If it takes 4 to 6 weeks to receive private loans, why did we not know the total bill until a week before it's due? That is a fair question that I wish I had an answer to. We had a lot of, and this is not me making excuses. I can't necessarily say I disagree with you, but what I will say is I know that there were a lot of issues with processing internally that caused some delays, which is why we tried to send the college financing plan out as quickly as possible. I am sorry that it got so close to the wire. I wish that I had an answer, but the good news is, like I said, I really would be surprised if the late fee comes out on Tuesday. It rarely comes out the day after. I've never seen it happen. That's not to say that it can't, but typically it's end of ad drop from what I've seen. Just don't hold me to that because I am not the say all end all of that. But I definitely hear your frustration, and I am hopeful that we don't run into this issue going into future semesters. Request for review. I'm glad somebody asked about that. I know folks are still waiting for responses on request for review for changes in the financial situations in the household. I don't know that it will be reviewed by Monday. And again, I'm trying to be transparent. I hope that no one is taking this offensively, but I truthfully don't know. I don't know that it will be available because there's a team that handles that process. And depending on what their volume is, it could be then Monday, it could not be. But like I said, if payment's not in Monday, it is not an immediate, we're not yanking anybody out of class. Students will still be in a space where they can start classes and get those things done. If the bill says anticipated credit next to the health insurance waiver, does it mean that the waiver has been completed? I believe that is correct. But again, you're more than welcome to reach out to us to double check, but that sounds accurate. Good question about the loan. So the full amount of the loans apply to the fall tuition bill, or is it split into 2? Loans are thank you, Rosie, for answering this question. Loans are divided between fall and spring. So the 55 amount, if you're getting a 5,500 number, it would be 2,750 per semester. These are not numbers established by the university. These are federally locked numbers given by the Department of Education. If we overpay our invoice due to an unapplied scholarship, will I get a refund after the scholarship is applied? If it's an outside scholarship, this is a multifaceted answer. If it is an outside scholarship and the foundation of that scholarship, if they say it is a refundable amount, then absolutely. If the scholarship tells us that it is not refundable, then we have to send that money back to the scholarship foundation. So that's not an us decision. That is a foundational decision. Presidential, I believe, is refunded. I think that's just given to the student. I'm not concerned about that. So just something to keep in mind. Is the meal and room included on the bill? So all charges should be on a student's bill. So if they've selected housing and a meal plan, it should be listed on that bill. Do commuters require a mandatory meal plan? So a meal plan, no, but there is a dining deposit that all commuters, full-time commuters, are required to pay. So what happens is those students get $250, I believe, or it's 200. I neglected the actual number, but they get an amount of money in flex dollars that they get on their student ID cards that they can use across campus. If the student does not utilize that funding at the end of the academic year, so in May or June, at the end of the year, whatever they didn't utilize, they will get refunded to them. So just something to keep in mind there as well. Yes, and somebody did ask about that email for scholarships. I'm happy to put that in there, the email to send award letter information to. I am happy to throw that in there. So I just threw that in there. It is thirdpty at montclair.edu. Just to reiterate, you do not have to waive the health insurance per semester. It is one time per academic year. So just to keep that in mind, I don't want anybody looking out for it in the spring and you've already waived it. So something we won't have to worry about there. I'd have time for one more question. Let me see if I missed anything. Lost his ID. So if somebody loses their ID card, my advice would be try to get that situated before move-in day, because I believe they're going to need their ID to move in. So the sooner that gets done, the better. I think a lot of this I went over, so I think that's really good. And right on time. So I really, really hope that the information that I provided was helpful, informative. I really hope that I was able to answer a lot of folks' questions. I do know that there's still some anxiety surrounding the due date. Like I said, I definitely understand. So any follow-up questions that you guys have, you are welcome to come in and see us. You are welcome to email us at redhawkcentral@montclair.edu. You're welcome to call us at 973-655-7600. Like I said, I'm really glad that I got to speak to everybody today. Like I said, I'm hopeful that it was informative and helpful, and I'm really looking forward to meeting you all and your students. And definitely best of luck this semester and the rest of the way. Welcome to Montclair State University. Everybody have a phenomenal night.